Hola, gente linda, buenos días. Viernes 8 de octubre, parece increíble que hemos
Hello, Friday, October 8th. After so long and so much preparation, so much work made by Mentec and with the students. Thank you for being here during the last day. It's going to be an intensive day, and we are going to start with Miguel Felipe Anzola, the director of the Spectrum National Agency of Colombia. He participated in 2012 when we held the edition in Colombia. It's a pleasure to have you here. We remember very gladly when you participated in November in 2012 and you helped us co-host the event. So it's a great pleasure and honor to have you here. And I know that you play a key role at the Spectrum National Agency in Colombia. So let's welcome you. And we would like to welcome you to the South School of Internet Governance on this 13th edition. Okay.
Olga, qué gusto volver a verte nuevamente.
It's an honor and privilege to see you again. Greetings to you and greetings to the SSIG. And also the ICT ministry that has been working with you in these endeavors. It's going to be a long week, but with very interesting topics for all of us. In today's meeting, I would like to speak of the role played by the broadcasting spectrum in Colombia. Let me allow to share my screen.
No sé si ya la están viendo.
Can you see my screen?
Okay, perfecto.
All right.
Entonces, yo quiero compartir con ustedes un poco.
I would like to share with you what we've been doing in our agency in Colombia, in everything that has to do with broadcasting and with policies. Why is it important to have this spectrum policy for our country? Because this spectrum is the fundamental element to provide telecommunication wireless services. We all know that internet access is disseminated through wireless rather than with cable. So this is the connectivity of choice nowadays. And that's why we have coined that we manage this spectrum with an innovative approach and with a special approach to contribute to the development of communications and the quality of life of Colombians. So how do we go about spectrum at the National Agency in Colombia? We propose a policy that was passed by the ministry by the end of last year. We're going to analyze the direct impact on the ICT environment later on. We have the current situation to start with. In Colombia, we have a legal framework and the public policy framework that was chartered by the Duque administration that dates back to 2018 to 2022. This is within the development plan policy, and if we put it together with the ICT plan for the same period that was proposed by the ICT ministry. We also take into account the new telecommunications law in the ICT, that is law number 1978 that dates back to 2019. This law speaks of spectrum allocation that no longer aims at maximizing benefits for the state, but also maximizing the social welfare. Here we're saying that we're thinking of connectivity, we're thinking of the people and the ownership or appropriation of the use of the internet. Since we want to raise awareness of having this internet appropriation for the welfare of the communities and for the economic development of this country. On the other hand, we take into account the Compass document that is number 3975 of digital transformation, where we're aiming at digital transformation with this plan, and then the 5G plan. Because with the fifth generation of wireless telephony is going to impact significantly not only on the use, but also for the industrial processes in our economy. How do we go about with developing these international policies? Well, by monitoring of what is going on at the domestic and international level through a participatory process. We publish documents to welcome and adopt proposals from the many multi-stakeholders that we have, and we also see what's going on in other countries. So we take into account the best international practices, especially in anything that has to do with spectrum management, where we take into account the UIT, the ITV, and the OECD, and also advanced countries in these endeavors like the United States, UK, Mexico, and New Zealand. So the approach is to maximize social welfare, and how through spectrum management we can improve this in society. The approaches being employed allow us to adapt to the multi-stakeholder approach in this industry. And this also has a market approach, so we can leverage the competitiveness of services provided, because it's the only way for carriers to provide this service, so they need to be highly competitive, so targets and citizens could benefit from these services. So this spectrum management aims at the digital transformation of the economy in many countries. Would like to implement 5G to leverage digital transformation of the economy. We're always thinking with a long-term approach. We're working with a spectrum of at least a 5-year term or 10 years. Yesterday, we said that we published a document that is important for the international and for the domestic policies. And through spectrum planning, that we have included the items, we urge everybody to make recommendations, guidelines, or whatever in this respect. This is posted in the website. So this spectrum management is very important for us. We've been working along this year, so the stakeholders count on this spectrum management, and we want to do it swiftly because wireless communications are used for deploying these resources so people can have internet access in the industry. And also to simplify policies or regulatory framework. So the easier the better. We would like to prevent some sort of situations from delaying processes. So we would like to streamline these management processes in terms of spectrum regulation. This is a multi-stakeholder approach, a transparent methodology that is done through open communication, adopting all the opinions from many stakeholders. We work on roundtables and open forums. Now, the spectrum policy for 2020 and 2024 is to modernize the spectrum management to support the digital transformation of the economy. We want the country to be highly competitive. So, in the many producing sectors, they could modernize. Suppliers could modernize their infrastructure to have with the technical capabilities available. So we would like to cooperate with the industry and with the civil society and with the society at large so they can use a spectrum when it is needed. We want to maximize social welfare, simplification with an effective approach to have more flexibilization, transparency, aiming at digital transformation always. The lines of actions, we would like to adopt this in the legal framework. As we adjust this will allow us to operate more effectively. So that's why we are introducing data analytics. So we're thinking of long-term planning, 3 or 10 years, minimum, well, I would say minimum 5 years. And the planning of 5 years is being updated every single year. So we are launching a 5-year plan every single year for society to know where we're heading towards, and so they can understand what role we play, and also spectrum access as much as possible. And also we are working on knowledge management and innovation. We see that the broadcasting spectrum is in the hands of the state, and the administration depends on the public sector. So citizens should become more involved with interest groups to find a way to get to know the needs and to satisfy those needs, especially in spectrum management. How do we make this true? Well, first, we're working with a new spectrum management model. We're working together with the ICT ministry. LACNI provides the technical aspect, and we work with the legal framework. We work on 3 pillars. One is planning, that intends to identify what are the potential uses or the most adequate branches to provide effective good services. Nowadays, we are working with a service approach, but we're not working with a band use approach. So this could be easily allocated to provide better services. In terms of allocations, we have many tasks to be implemented, and we are planning to modernize the IT systems. And lastly, to guarantee that the wireless communication systems could be provided with the best quality, preventing interferences as a result of ISPs that are legally authorized, or they may be created by people with an unduly authorized or unauthorized use. So if they're not authorized, this may interfere with the technical applications, and I'm sure penalties will be applied. Now, the guiding principles for managing spectrum are listed here in this slide. First, we have national sovereignty to safeguard or its public security and what we use to protect the lives of people. It should be an adequate, efficient, and flexible use of spectrum that could bring more value to society, more value added. As long as we identify uses that would be benefit for the society, they will be perfect candidates for spectrum allocation. And first and foremost, we intend to maximize the spectrum allocation. That's why one of the guiding principles says that as long as we have free competition, there's going to be an effective use of the spectrum. However, when this is allocated for a specific service or for a provider or supplier, we do need to protect that investment, because investors deploy this sort of infrastructure and they can rest assured that their investment is protected to provide their services in the regulated free competition environment. As I said, we are working strongly based on a principle that addresses transparency, non-discrimination, and proportionality. We aim at maximizing the social welfare. We need to determine what technology is adopted for the services, for the carrier. In Colombia, we do not decide what technology should be used, but it's the carrier that determines what is the most adequate technology. That's why this is called technology neutrality. And we are very interested in having the maximum flexibilization in spectrum management and control so we could have the most optimum frequency. And a spectrum depends on domestic and international jurisdiction. The issues connected with use spectrum management should be connected at the domestic and the international spheres. That's why we take part in the roundtables and in the working tables with the UAT and with CITEL when discussing topics regarding the ICT spectrum uses by promoting interest and national advocacy. And we're making headway from policy to reality. So we're working in structuring a new proposed model that depends on three pillars: planning, allocation, surveillance, and control. So what are the activities, supplementary activities that we conduct? We want to strengthen our institutions that are required to guarantee the implementation of this new model. Also, we would like to have a new legal framework for innovating with this model, to have a multi-stakeholder approach targeting to citizens, and lastly, to have an update of the IT systems, since we have more than 30 to manage spectrum, and they should be upgraded and modernized because they date back to 10 years ago, so it requires a lot of upgrade. These topics that I have proposed are here listed on the screen. So we're making progress by implementing this kind of efforts that we have included in the policy making proposal. So what are we doing in practice? We see that there's interest in driving the economic transformation or the digital transformation in the economy. If we have focused in order to guarantee and to target to telecommunication services, especially for the welfare of people, we can see that we have raised a lot of awareness with the organization, or together with the organization of economic production efforts. This was allowed to implement the necessary telecommunication efforts, and that's why we have been working on producing sectors that will improve and enhance the GDP, and that is what most contributes to job creation and for reactivating the economy post-COVID-19. So we have identified these sectors, and in 2020, we worked along lines in organizing conferences, forum with smart cities, transportation, energy, oil and gas, water treatment, and infrastructure. And in these roundtables that we have organized, we invited companies that are highly representative of these business sectors, together with the ministries, to participate in these forums, and they also participated with the ISPs, by also those that are solution integrators to this sector. Now, with this multi-stakeholder approach, we wanted to create synergies among these producing sectors, with the carriers, with the integrators, with the state, in order to contribute to the growth and to development of these sectors, where we have identified weaknesses or needs that later I am going to address. And then we also work with the fashion industry, with beverages, with the food industry, with the leather industry, with the automotive industry, with the steel industry, and with logistics, which is very, very important for us at the national level because it extends across the country. Now, there's a need to enhance and to increase mobile communications and internet access in the rural sectors of those remote places in our country. Companies target to the centers where they concentrate the large populations, but also we have sectors where we have ports, mining industry, power plants, power generation plants, and they have limited access to ICTs. So that is why, through the carriers or directly by facilitating these sort of services, so they can build their own networks for the telecommunication services. We know that we have the traditional carriers. However, if these plants will not find these services available, they will have to resort to developing the services by means of a specific dedicated development or infrastructure. The spectrum, dedicated spectrum for the economic sectors, should deploy infrastructure of communications with the technical conditions required, like availability, capacity, latency, security, and reliability. So the stakeholders asked us to review the spectrum allocation costs, so this could be more reliable or possible. What is the network availability issues if we focus primarily on the telecommunications sector? Network development requires new infrastructure, which is key to improve our coverage, because there's a demand on the rise to implement this through talent. So we'll require training, we'll require also maintenance of the existing infrastructure, and to renew the existing infrastructure, we will require densification processes with a higher development or implementation of antennas, wireless antennas, and that needs to be modernized. We have also 5G technology in mobile technologies. Every 3 years, we make advances in these mobile networks.
a 2020
From
se tuvo
2010
la
to
cuarta
2020,
generación de
we had
comunicaciones móviles que nos
4G in
permitían
mobile
tanto
communications,
comunicación de voz
which
como
allow us voice
comunicación de datos. Ya teníamos
and
acceso a
data
internet y
communications. We
aplicaciones
did
desde
have
nuestros celulares.
access to the
Pero la
internet
quinta generación
and applications. However,
viene para casi
this
que
fifth
duplicar el
generation
tamaño del mercado. La quinta generación, si bien tiene una
aims
orientación
at
hacia las personas,
improving this market, even though it
está
is market oriented.
principalmente orientado para
It is
conectar la
mainly
industria
targeted
para
to connect the
tocar los
whole
sectores
industry
productivos. Ahora bien, la
to
quinta
improve the
generación
producing sectors.
implica
5G
una concentración, una confluencia de muchos
implies a
desarrollos
convergence or a
tecnológicos que se han dado en el
concentration
mundo, como
of
podemos ver acá.
broadcasting developments that we have had
Hoy en
across the
día,
world.
la implementación de las redes móviles
The
se
implementation
basa
of mobile networks
buscar soluciones económicas
largely
para
depend on
se
economic
utilizan
solutions.
implementaciones de
And that is
computación
why we implement
virtualizadas,
IT
es decir,
products that are virtualized in
las
nature.
soluciones pueden trabajar sobre cualquier
Solutions
máquina, cualquier
may work on or
procesador,
run on
cualquier
any
sistema
processor,
operativo.
on any machine,
Y ya no es
computer,
algo
or
específico,
operating
algo
system.
propietario, lo que
It's
no
not
se consigue
specific or
mejores
proprietary
costos.
nowadays.
Por otro lado,
Basically,
la computación en el
depends
orden de
on the
medida,
cost that we have available
se
of
puede
these
procesar
technologies,
la información
and
que
also the
tienen
processing
a través de
capacity
las redes de comunicaciones móviles
of
cerca
these mobile
de donde están
networks.
los usuarios. Se van a poder garantizar tiempos de
So
respuesta
by that,
muchísimo
we are
más
going to have response
rápidos por
times that are
seguridad.
going to
De
be
otro lado, para contribuir
faster.
al menor consumo de energía,
Also,
las redes
energy
de la quinta
saving
generación van a
technologies,
permitir
because
identificar
5G allows
geográficamente
for
dónde están los abonados,
identify
dónde están los usuarios
geographically
y poder
where the
manejar
users are
haces de emisiones
and take
radioeléctricas
advantage
concentradas
of the
donde están los usuarios y
radioelectric beams
dispersarlas en
directly
electromagnéticas
targeting to the location
de
of those
manera
users and not
isotrópica, es decir,
waste
hacia todos
them
lados, con lo cual
isotropically to
lo
other
que se hace es
places
desperdiciar
where
energía.
it's not
Aquí se
needed and
concentra la
you
energía
end up
en
wasting
los sitios
energy.
donde están los usuarios
So
y por
here
el
you
contrario,
focus the
por
energy
lo tanto
on the
permiten
location
entonces
where those
mayor
users
alcance
are,
geográfico, mayor
which
distancia
allows
y
better coverage
mayor
in
nivel
terms of
de
distance and
conectividad.
better
Ahora bien,
level of service of
esta
connectivity.
quinta generación permite
This
integrar tanto
fifth
la red de acceso
generation allows
como la
to
red
integrate
de
access
backhaul,
networks
digamos como los enlaces
and the
troncales. Hay un uso más eficiente
trunking
del espectro.
backhaul networks
Adicionalmente,
that
las
make
estaciones
this
transmisoras van a
network
permitir manejar
more
múltiples antenas,
efficient.
con lo cual se
And
logra
5G will allow multiple
mayor
antennas,
cobertura
so we
y se
will
mejora
have
la
better
ubicación
coverage
de los
and will
usuarios.
be improving
Igualmente, esta quinta generación
coverage in
permite
users' locations.
generar la cooperación
5G
entre la transmisión de comunicaciones móviles
optimizes
usando espectro
cooperation
radioeléctrico, pero también
between
con otro tipo de redes
transmission,
como Wi-Fi,
mobile
es decir,
transmission,
permite
and
la
also
descarga de datos
Wi-Fi.
móvil hacia las redes
So
Wi-Fi,
it
de
allows
manera que se complementen las
internet
dos y se
mobile
mejore la calidad
networks
de la prestación
towards Wi-Fi so they can
de
supplement
todos
each other
lados.
and then we can improve the
Asimismo,
quality of
estas
service
redes
of those
permiten
networks.
tener agregación
These
de
networks
portadoras,
allow
lo cual hace que
also
se puedan
carrier
generar mayores
aggregations,
anchos de banda para que
so
los
you will
usuarios se
have
beneficien de
higher
ello.
broadband
Y
for the
por último, y
benefit
no
of
menos
those
importante,
users. And
la
lastly,
posibilidad de configurar redes virtuales sobre
the
la red real
possibility
para poder
of configuring
parametrizar
virtual networks on
el
the actual
servicio que
network
necesita el usuario.
to
Es decir, si hay un
optimize
usuario que necesita,
the user
digamos, en la
service.
industria, unas
So we
características
have,
específicas en términos
if we
de
have a user that
tiempos de
requires
respuesta cortos, en
specific
términos de anchos de
features
banda, en
like
términos de cobertura,
broadband,
se pueden parametrizar
special
ciertas
capacity,
configuraciones
response
en la red,
time,
lo que se
we
llama
can
como
adjust those
network
parameters in the
slicing,
network,
como slicing, como una tajada de la red
what
con
is
características
called
específicas del
network
usuario.
slicing
Entonces, como ven,
for
aquí tenemos
specific
una
user.
confluencia de tecnologías que permiten
So we
generar
have
lo
technology
que se llama la
convergence
quinta
that
generación de
allow us
tecnologías móviles
to
y que
have
con lo que se aspira a
5G
poder
aspiring
tener un desarrollo muy importante
to have
particularmente hacia la industria.
great
Casi que
development
podemos decir a
in this
duplicar el
industry,
mercado de las
like
comunicaciones móviles.
to
Ahora
double
bien, tecnologías
the mobile technology
emergentes
market that we
de
have
cara al
nowadays.
usuario, ya no de cara a
Emerging
la red
technologies
particularmente, sino
for
de
the
cara al
user,
usuario.
not
Hay
for the
tantas
network, but for the
posibilidades que se
user.
tienen con la
There are
implementación de estas
multiple
tecnologías
options and
que
possibilities
muchos
by
países
deploying 5G. So many countries have made efforts on 5G as a specific public of telecommunications to improve connectivity. So we have Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, robotics, cloud computer, blockchain, 3D printing, analytics. There are so many things that this technology allows. That's why this will be very, very impactful on society. Precisely, the impact would be extended to uses that it could be multiple. For example, industrial automation would be one of them. Smart plants, telemedicine, education that we have been bearer witnesses along the pandemic that we basically had to implement e-learning. Right now, we are considering even artificial intelligence or the use of drones. This is what we've dreamed as human beings with technology implementation. And this is becoming a reality little by little. This all will contribute to the quality of life of citizens. And many of these activities, we have seen that they make use of wireless connectivity that impacts on many sectors that coexist in the city, like industry, the energy, transportation, construction, etc. So they make use an efficient implementation of technology for the benefit of citizens. And this is what is referred to, or what is commonly referred to as smart cities. So the telecommunications industry has a larger scope in terms of development. That's why we would like to facilitate spectrum allocation on the part of Spectrum National Agency, and to have the necessary planning so we could have them available when they are needed in the country. These topics will have the desired impact on 5G because we want to transform their experience so citizens could have larger benefits, that the world has become digital so that the paperwork could be done online, automated, and that the industries could be driven with smart technology or smart networks. And this will allow to transform societies. Indeed, what we intend is to have technology facilitation for all users, allowing to do things easier and to do many things that were or that could have never done before. In our agency, when managing and planning the spectrum and in knowledge management, we intend to have all stakeholders at the front center in terms of benefits. So we want to facilitate the transformation of the economy of my country. Without further ado, I would like to acknowledge the South School of Internal Governance for having invited me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Felipe. Probably you can share the presentation in PDF for the students. Thank you very much. I have many questions. We don't have enough time, but we could be brief because there's somebody else waiting. We have a busy agenda for today because it's the last day. They're asking asking me if, I mean, there are many countries that speak of 6G, even though it's not in the pipeline. For Latin America, people say that they enjoy your talk and reflections on the bit of Mexico where there was only a small
Bueno,
percentage of what was
sobre la
offered.
primera pregunta, en América
Okay,
Latina
to take the first
todavía
question,
estamos
Latin
en el
America,
despliegue de las
we're
redes de
still
4G.
deploying
¿Sí? O sea, tenemos un rezago importante frente
the
a
4G
países
networks because
desarrollados.
we
Ya
have been
digamos,
delayed in
algunos países, en
comparison
el
with
caso de Chile,
developed countries, but
ya
we have
están
countries like
arrancando la
Chile
implementación de las
that they are
redes de 5G.
implemented
En el caso de
5G.
Colombia,
In the case of Colombia,
estimamos que
we estimate
para el próximo año se esté
that for
realizando la
next year
subasta de Espectro, pero normalmente
we
pues, el
will
despliegue en
have
infraestructura toma alrededor de
the
un año.
Spectrum
Es decir,
auction,
los
but
beneficios de la
infrastructure
quinta
deployment
generación los
takes a
vamos a ver
year, so the
nosotros quizás
benefits of
año
5G
2022,
probably
2023,
we will
¿sí? Pero en
see by
general,
year 22, the end of
diferentes
22,
países de América Latina ya están
2023
trabajando
probably.
en la planeación
However,
de
Latin
la
America has
generación,
been
la
working on
asignación del
planning
espectro.
spectrum
Yo
allocation as well.
pensaría que hacia el año ya 2025
And I
ya
would
casi todos
think
los
that by
países habremos entrado
2025,
en
all
esa onda
countries
de despliegue de
will
población de
have
servicios de 5G.
implemented
Lo
the
que es
5G
6G es un
services.
tema que apenas está en
Now,
desarrollo
6G
todavía,
is
está en
still in
estudio,
the
está en
pipeline
investigación,
and is
se está
subject
hablando
to
mucho.
analysis and research still.
Evidentemente, pues es necesario que se realicen las reuniones que necesariamente se llevan a cabo dentro de
Evidently,
los
there are many
organismos
working groups
de
with
estandarización,
meetings
¿sí?
with the
Para definir cuáles
standardization
son esas
organizations,
características,
and they
cuáles
are
son las
trying to
tecnologías que se
define the
recomiendan para
features
esta
and the
sexta generación.
characteristics
Pero
that they
por
intend
lo
to have
menos de aquí
for
al año
6G.
2025 a 2030 vamos a estar
But I would
trabajando
say
con 5G.
until
Miguel Felipe,
2025,
te pido
2030,
por
Latin
favor,
America will be
te
working
pido
with
mil
5G.
disculpas, tenemos el panelista
Thanks a
siguiente
lot,
que
but we
lamentablemente
have the
se
next
tiene que ir
panel,
Okay.
y estamos un
and
poquito
the
atrasados. Te
next
pido mil
panelist
disculpas.
is running late and he
Supongo
has to
que
leave, so
de
we need
alguna
to start
manera
on
si por ahí
time
me
with him.
mandas el comentario este
Probably you
sobre
can
lo
send
de
us
México del 10% de interés, yo
um,
lo comparto después con
the other
los
question
becarios.
on
Te
the
pido mil
10%
disculpas por
interest of
interrumpirte
Mexico.
la
I can share
contestación,
that with
pero
the
bueno,
audience. Thank you
tenemos
very
un
much.
programa muy
And
completo
we
hoy porque
have
es el último día y
a
muchas
busy
gracias por
agenda
el
during
apoyo de
today.
MINTIC y por el
Thanks
apoyo
from the
de la
ICT
agencia también en la
Ministry
realización
and
de esta
the
escuela
National
y
Spectrum
también
Agency
anteriormente en
for
2012, lo recuerdo
your
con mucho
participation in
afecto.
this
Saludos acá
call
de
and all
Adrián, de
that.
Oscar y todo el
Thanks.
equipo.
Regards
Igualmente,
from
muchas
Adrián
gracias.
Gracias
and
por estar con
Oscar
nosotros.
and the rest of the team.
Muy
Thank
buen
you very
día.
much.
Gracias,
Ok.
buen día.